Forgive me for cutting straight to the chase, but I know you've been asked about this before last summer, about the captaincy, about your style. I mean, I know you've answered it before, but the latest Shane Warne interview, just your reaction to it, really.
Well, it doesn't seem time to change at all, does it, since last summer? Look, it's old news, I think. It's pretty much exactly what was said in the summer. We had pretty good results in the summer as well. So, look, it's not surprising, obviously, being an Australian and you know, trying to get into the English camp. But I think everyone can see that.
Do you think it's almost just part of the bit of Ashes banter in the build-up to this series? Is it all part of just playing in the Ashes and almost taking on board whatever's said or dismissing it, as you say?
Yeah, it is what happens when England play Australia. Obviously, it's a very high-profile series, and there's a lot of interest as well. So, I mean, it hasn't changed, has it, from the summer? And we don't expect it to change over the next couple of months either.
Just on yourself, you missed out on the first game. That was a precaution with your back, but how are you feeling as you look forward to your first game on the tour? Yeah,
the back's coming on nicely. It's obviously probably a mixture of the long flight and then doing quite a bit of hard training straight away. Not a great combination for a guy with a bit of a dodgy back, but you know, I'm very proud of my fitness record in terms of the number of consecutive games I've played for England. So, you know, hopefully, yeah, I feel as if I'm, you know, right back there now.
Just on the preparation, although you've missed out on the first game, time out in the middle, is that frustrating in that, you know, you're not able to play in all of the warm-up games?
Yeah, in an ideal world, you'd like to have started off the tour, you know, led from the front. As a captain, that's always, I think, one of the major challenges you have to do. But you know, on the fitness side, I couldn't do anything about it. You know, it was definitely the right move for me not to play. You know, that has negative effects, also has some good effects. Obviously, Matty Pryor got a bit of captaincy experience. You get to watch the game from a slightly different angle, rather than being involved in the emotion side of it. I would have liked to have spent some time in the middle. You don't know what's going to happen in these next two games, and every opportunity you get the chance to spend some time in the middle, I think you try and take. So that's a little bit frustrating, but you know, we've got 2 4-day games now.
Alastair, you obviously an experienced cricketer. Oh, sorry, Dan.
Let's go with Dan. Let's go, Dan.
I was just going to ask regarding what Shane said. He's talking about what he can see out on the field. You as a captain, and I guess England as an organisation, put a lot of store in what we can't see. The stuff that's going on in the dressing room behind the doors. How do you weigh up the two things? What's most important?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's results the most important thing. That's how you're judged pretty much as a captain, and the results you get with your team. There's 2 sides of it. Obviously, the man management side of it, back in the dressing room and back at in the hotel, how you handle certain individuals, and there's also what happens on the field as well, and that's a very public bit of captaincy. So they're the 2 sides of it, really.
Alastair, you're an experienced cricketer, so you've kind of seen it all before, but for someone perhaps like Joe Root on his first Ashes tour, when a player or former player of Shane's stature makes some pertinent points about opening and his technique, how easy is it for a younger player like that to shrug them off, and have you got a role to play in trying to get him to avoid that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we definitely have a role to play as senior guys. Guys who've been through the mill, I suppose, and understand exactly what's happening within the media, and we have a responsibility as an England team to look after each other. You know, Joe's a fantastic player. I think anyone who saw his 180 at Lords and his 100 against New Zealand, you can show the class he's got. You know, he's been outstanding for us since he's come in the England side in all forms of the game, and being able to bat in any situation, I think, is one of his greatest strengths. You know, whether he was batting at 6 in New Zealand series or he had to up the rate in a one-day game. I don't think I've seen a younger player adapt to the situation as well as he does, as quickly as he does. So I think that's one of his great strengths, and he's a pretty unflappable guy. So yes, I'm sure he'll, you know, it's slightly new to him, but that's where hopefully the experience of people like myself, KP, who've been there as batters in the top order, can give him some advice. But he can handle himself. I've got no worries about that.
Can you think of an example when you showed positive or imaginative captaincy? I seem to remember an example you putting yourself at short leg at Lords and taking a catch there.
Honestly, it's all a bit of a blur. It all happens. Look, I'm not going to get into nitty-gritty of my captaincy. I'm not sure that's quite really what this is about. But at times, I've always said I'm trying to learn on the job, you learn from experience, and I'm sure the times where I could be slightly more imaginative, slightly more think slightly differently if the situation arises. But we've had a pretty good run so far as a Test side, and we've had a pretty, in my first year as a Test captain, we've won away in India, which hasn't been done for a long period of time. We've won a series against Australia, and I think that's things which we can be very proud of as a side.
Malcolm?
Yeah, I just wanted to give that you've on the same thing, given that you've only lost 1 of 16 tests, do you feel that boring is beautiful?
Look, I keep saying it's all about results, and it is, and that's what the sport is about, unfortunately. You win or you lose, it's pretty black and white. Okay, you can throw a draw in there, that doesn't quite make sense, but in cricket, but most of the time in sport you win and lose. And luckily with the side we've got at the moment and the players we've got, we've done quite a lot of winning, but that's in the past. It's all about now how we're preparing for obviously another very big challenge, winning in Australia. It hasn't been done that often for England's side recently. So that's what the challenge we've got ahead of ourselves, and I'm confident in the way we're doing things. We're training hard. We improved throughout that Perth game, and we've got this as a next step to make sure we're ready for that first ball at Brisbane.
Alastair, still on Warne, I'm afraid. When he pipes up, is it very easy not to sort of take it personally, or on some level are you bound to?
I think as one of the skills you need as an international cricketer compared to a guy who just plays county cricket is having to deal with this situation. There's a lot more interest in what's going on in the international game, and how you handle yourself it certainly is whether you make the grade or not. And over quite a long period of time now, I feel that I've handled it pretty well. I think anyone will know that when someone makes a comment about you, it does change your blood pressure slightly. That no one in the world can say it doesn't affect them at all. But I'm pretty confident and pretty skillful in being able to handle it, because I think over the last, as I said, over 7 years, I've done it pretty well.
Right. Thanks for that. So just ask you about your own batting. When you came here 3 years ago, you didn't have a great record before then against Australia, and then you were absolutely brilliant. Does it feel a little bit similar after this summer? Because obviously you didn't have a fantastic series.
No, I don't think it does. I think it. It's nice coming to a country where you've scored a lot of runs in the past. It doesn't count too much for anything now, but it's nice now when you turn up to Brisbane. It's nice when you walk to a ground. Any batter will know when you've walked to a ground and scored runs in the past. It gives you a better feeling when you've had memories of not scoring runs. No, I don't think it's quite the same. You always have to prove yourself as a batter. There's always someone saying, "Oh, well, last time you didn't score runs," or this and that. So that the situation doesn't change. I'm now responsible for the team, and that's what's probably the different situation.
Joe, will he open the batting in this game, or are you open to him batting down the order in this series?
We are open to all possibilities. We haven't decided on our batting lineup. This is one of the, it's very different, say, to 2010-11, where we came here and it was very clear to see what our full strength side was, what our first choice side was, and in that tour we played the first Test matches, the first 2 warm-up games as that Test match 11. In this situation, it is different. The circumstances changed that. We're unsure of pretty much 2 places, and it's exciting because everyone got in that squad knows that, and the competition is there. And I think watching that competition grow between players, I think is an exciting place to be, because if someone grabs that opportunity, he's going to find himself in a good place.
But in regard to this particular game, where's he going to go?
We haven't picked the side yet for that, so we'll announce that tomorrow.
Alastair, would you say that what happened in the game against WA has actually left more questions rather than answers, because the way that the various people competing for those positions performed, and in effect these 2 games now are a bit of a clean slate?
Yeah, I think we were rusty in that first game. Understandably, after 6 weeks, or 7 weeks probably, without playing red ball cricket. I think that naturally there's a bit of rustiness. I thought actually a second innings when we bowled Second innings, I thought we bowled a lot better than we did in the first innings. I think that was quite clear to see. I don't think it hasn't answered all our questions yet. Well, that's why we're here. We have this four-week period. I said last time the situation was clearer. It's just the way it is different this time. That's why we're trying to make sure that in this 4 weeks of preparation, we're doing all the best we can to make sure that we're ready for that first game.
Last couple.
Bearing in mind what you just said, Alastair, is it a difficult balance to get try and play your likely test team, or to try and give everybody a chance to stake a claim? You know, and will you want to play your test team in either this game or Sydney necessarily?
I say it is very different. It is different in a couple of situations. The bowlers are a lot more experienced in these conditions than they were last time we were here. So someone like Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad, Graham Swan, they know their games extremely well. They know the conditions they're about to bowl in. So it's almost a matter of tailing to their needs, making sure they get what they want. Like Stuart Broad said, he'd rather play these next 2 games rather than the first game. So he feels that's a better way of building up. So, we probably won't play our best 11 until that first test match, just because we are in a different situation with experience.
Last one. Sorry, Richard.
Does it
Richard. Sorry, last one over here. You could just pass the microphone over. He's been waiting for about 5 minutes.
Alastair, in England, you guys were 3 down for 30 or 3 down for 50 quite often through the series. How's the top order? What have you done to go about fixing that, I suppose?
Yeah, I think that's, especially with the Kookaburra ball, that's a situation which we can't allow to happen again. I think sometimes in England with overhead conditions that does happen. Here in Australia, bigger scores tend to happen. So we know that was an area of major improvement that we needed to do coming into the series.